So, do you two fondue? In America, the First Avenger, released in 2011 and is directed by Joe Johnston, who is also behind such films like Honey, I Shrunk the Kids, The Rocketeer, Jumanji, Jurassic Park 3, and Hidalgo. And this film, of course, is starring Chris Evans, his first outing of this role that he's become known for, Tommy Lee Jones, Hugo Weaving, Haley Atwell, Sebastian Stan, Dominic Cooper, Toby Jones, Neil McDonough, Derek Luke, and Stanley Tucci. In the midst of World War II, Hitler has made it clear that he is looking for ancient artifacts to help him win the war against the Allied powers. Well, one of his commanding officers takes that near and dear to his heart, and that is Johann Schmidt, who would later become known as the Red Skull. And he is searching for the power of the gods in what is later known as the Tesseract, and starts unleashing the power and taking over all of Europe. Well, now the US government is trying to fight back with their creation of the super soldier serum, and they're looking for the right person to inject it into, who will simply become a good man. And that, of course, is Steve Rogers, who later becomes Captain America, who we all know and love, and who we all stand behind. Gosh, 2011, that just seems like a lifetime ago when this film came out, because we've seen Chris Evans as Captain America in so many other projects, all the Avengers films, Captain America, all the other sequels, and now he's passing the shield on to the next Captain America in Sam Wilson, who is starring in his own feature-length film called Captain America Brave New World, coming out this weekend, which is why, of course, we're talking about this one. I just recently did a watch-along of the 1990s Captain America movie, so if you wanna just watch someone be tortured for an hour and a half, please check that one out. And I say let's sit back and talk about some Chris Evans as Captain America. Chris Evans, who at the time when he was cast as Captain America, this was the time he was coming off of playing Johnny Storm as the Human Torch in the Fantastic Four films. Now all of a sudden he's going to be Captain America in another Marvel movie? Remember fanboys just being crazy upset about it. And I even had friends in real life who would tell me, like, I don't know how it's going to be because I don't see... Chris Evans is not someone who I look at that I'm going to, follow into a battle. Someone who's going to lead me to victory. I don't see him playing that. And I remember telling them that if you question that, please go and watch the, I want to say 2009 Danny Boyle film called Sunshine, where he's one of these space cadets. I think he's kind of running the thing, even though I don't think he's the captain, but he's first officer. But he's very Captain America-esque in that movie. And that was the first time where I was like, okay, I think this guy could be a superhero, like a Superman or a Captain America type figure. And the reason why this movie works, or at least why it worked for me, is because of him and because of his performance. There's behind the scene footage where the animators, the CGI artists didn't know how the shield was going to look. They didn't know how it was going to read on screen with them creating it. They had no idea if it was going to look silly or not. But then Chris Evans comes on and he's doing all this test footage for them, and he's really getting his body into it, and he's figuring out, okay, if it's coming back, this is how I'm going to react to it. And it looks amazing. It looks fantastic. And all of the artists said after that day, oh yeah, this is going to work and this is going to be great. This was a big risk. This was a big stepping off point for him in his career, and I love how he's been very vocal and very honest about the anxiety that he felt around the time of shooting this film and around the time when this film was coming out, because he'd already been Johnny Storm. He'd been in high profile superhero films that didn't do so well, and it was kind of depressing for him. So for him to agree to come back to it and put himself out there again, he's vocal about having anxiety and needing therapy and focusing on his mental health during the production of this. And I think that's very commendable. And I think that's a great message to send out to anyone out there who is struggling with mental health issues or anxiety or depression, and just tell them hey, you're not alone. This is Captain America, who's the coolest guy in the movies right now. And he also deals with it too, so you're not alone. And his portrayal of Steve Rogers is the portrayal that we need for someone who's going to go around calling himself Captain America. And even he doesn't even go around calling himself Captain America. That's what everyone calls him. That's the label that everyone's putting on him. He always just called himself Steve, because he always wanted to do the right thing. And If you watch that watch along of the 1990s Captain America, it's so simple and it's so silly how they're just like, we have the super soldier serum and we're gonna give it to someone who's going to lead our troops to victory, and that person is Steve Rogers. There's no figuring out who this character is or why that person is the correct person to be injected with basically the power of the gods. In this film, in the first Avengers film, the main thing that they do great is establish who this person is. He's not Captain America. He's just a kid from Brooklyn who doesn't like bullies and who is always willing to stand up for what is right, stand up for the little guy, and is not afraid to get punched because of it. That's the kind of man who you want being injected with super soldier serum. That's the kind of man who you want leading troops and leading people to victory and in battle, someone that you can look up to. And it was really smart of them too to really focus on that aspect, because this is 2011. I don't think we had caught Osama bin Laden by that time, and the world, and even still now, the world doesn't really have a favorable view on the United States of America, let's be honest. But they were able to focus on the universal human aspects of this character so that they could put a film labeled Captain America the First Avenger, or in some countries it was just called the First Avenger, with this person wielding the red, white, and blue shield on the poster all over the world, and yet everyone over the world loved it, and everyone went out to go see it, and everyone generally had a favorable view on it. It's very impressive, and of the films of the first phase, I think this one was the biggest risk. But it paid off because they have the right people, they cast the right person as Captain America, and they focused on the correct aspects. Now, it is disappointing that the uniform, the Captain America stuff is shown in a montage. Like, the second half of this movie is very rushed. All of the Captain America stuff, there's like 3 seconds here, 10 seconds here of a scene or of a battle, and then there's Captain America again throwing his shield, and that was another battle, and now we're back over here, and here we have another battle, and this is the war. And even getting into that final climactic battle with the Red Skull and the plane and all the bombs, it's very rushed. It's a very rushed ending. But because they took their time in the first half and established this character and really established the relationship, or at least the infatuation between Steve Rogers and Peggy Carter, it makes those last moments of them on the radio and him plowing his plane into the ocean that much more impactful. It's a sad moment, and it's a moment that I had been begging for ever since this movie came out. Like, I really hope we get to see Steve and Peggy dance at one point. And I know she's going to be like over 100 years old if they do that in current times, but I don't care. I want that. I need them to have their dance. Almost waited 10 long years to finally see it, but it makes me happy that they finally got it. Captain America First Avenger is definitely one of my favorites of the MCU, of every project and everything that they've released. Maybe it's not in my top 10, but I do remember leaving the theater first time watching this movie. I do remember leaving that film $23 richer, because I looked down and under a seat there was just cash laying there. And, I'm not going to let that cash just go to waste and be lonely under a theater seat, so I reached down and I grabbed it. No one was around. So I put it in my pocket, and I gave it a home. So I walked out of this movie making a profit. Like, how could I not love this movie? I'm going to give Captain America the First Avenger 4 out of 5 Blu-rays.
I like it a lot.
So guys, if you've seen Captain America the First Avenger, what did you think about it? What is your ranking of all the Captain America films and projects that are out there? Whatever you thought, comment below and let me know what you thought about it. And as always, if you like what you see here, if you like my take on movies, then hit the subscribe button and make sure you hit that bell. See you the next time I release next movie review. So guys, I will see you next time on the channel, but in the meantime, be well, be good to each other, and go watch a movie. Take care, guys.